Jainila and all of you. I hope you all are fine. Stay home, stay safe. During this pandemic, follow the rules of S&S. Dear students, last week we started the chapter The Enemy, and today is the third lecture from this chapter, The Enemy. Till now we studied that how the story of this story, The Enemy, is set in the times of World War II. Then we come to know how Dr. Sadao, he was an expert doctor. He was a Japanese expert doctor as well as a very great scientist, surgeon. He was a very great surgeon and a scientist also. One day, as he was there in his balcony, he found an American at his threshold who was bleeding and is in the dying state. Initially, Dr. Sadao and Hana, his wife, they thought of throwing back the prisoner of war back into the sea. But none of them was able to throw that American back into the sea. So they brought him home. After bringing that prisoner of war into his house, Dr. Sadao, he started facing the protest by his servants. So now let's move further. So students, let's start with the third lecture of the chapter The Enemy, which is written by Pearl S. Buck. Now, Hana, she called the maid Yumi and ordered her to wash the man. Yumi also, she came near with a bucket full of water. She felt so repulsed that she refused to do that job. The more Hana insisted, the more stubborn Yumi became. Meanwhile, the other servants in the house, they also felt bad about their master having to do anything with the cursed man, whom the bullet, the sea, the rock, they all had tried to kill. So, at last, Hana washed the man herself. Meanwhile, Sadao came in, dressed and equipped as a surgeon. Man's back had to be cleaned, so someone was needed to give anesthesia before the operation. Hana, she had never done it, but she had to do it. Dr. Sadao taught her the basics about how to give the anesthesia. Seeing too much of blood, Hana, she felt nervous and giddy. She went out and retched. Hana returned and gave anesthesia to the man. Now, Dr. Sadao had to probe deep to take out the bullet. Now he recollects his American professor's words. His anatomy professor, lesson, it always came handy. The operation was successful, though the patient's condition was extremely critical. Now, the professor, he told that a surgeon must have full knowledge about the patient's body. Operating without the complete knowledge of the human body is a great sin, is like committing a murder. Now, Dr. Sadao, gave that American an injection and declared that the man was going to survive in spite of all the other things. The young man, he regained consciousness. He was surprised to find Hannah speaking English. Hannah explained she had been to US. Now, by third day, the young man had recovered quite a bit. Dr. Sadao was still caught up in the dilemma what to do with the man. When the wounded soldier regained consciousness, he asked Dr. Sadao that what was he going to do with that man. To which Dr. Sadao, he did not answer. Altogether, the servants, they decided to leave Dr. Sadao's household. They would not understand why Dr. Sadao had to save the life of the condemned man. They were all anxious about the family of Dr. Sadao, which was sliding fast towards disaster. Dr. Sadao, he tended the man's wound every day. Then he typed a letter and sent to the chief of police. But somehow his conscience did not let him do so. He kept that unfinished letter in his secret drawer. So that was it, dear students, for today's lecture. Hope you would have understood each and everything, but still if you feel that you have not understood, please feel free to ask. Thank you.